on its own mRNA vaccines. So, Mr. Spokesperson, does China plan to share this type of vaccines with developing countries to make vaccine distribution more equitable? Is there a timetable for that? Is this also a step for China to open up its borders? Thank you.
谢谢你的提问。疫情爆发初期，习近平主席就郑重宣布，中国新冠疫苗研发完成并投入使用后，将作为全球公共产品。之后呢，习主席进一步提出了全球疫苗合作行动倡议，表示要确保疫苗作为全球公共产品得到公平分配，特别是要使发展中国家获益。
Thank you for the question. In the early stage of the pandemic, President Xi Jinping had solemnly pledged that Chinese vaccines will be a global public good once they are developed and available. Following that, President Xi Jinping further put forward a global vaccine cooperation action initiative, making clear that vaccines as a global public good should be distributed equitably, especially in a way that benefits developing countries.
我得到的最新数据是，就是到目前为止，中国已经向120多个国家和国际组织提供了超过21亿剂疫苗，占中国以外全球疫苗使用总量的1/3，是对外提供疫苗最多的国家。
According to the latest data that I have, to date, China has provided over 2.1 billion doses of vaccines to over 120 countries and international organizations. This accounts for 1/3 of the total vaccines administered around the world outside of China. It makes China the largest provider of vaccines.
当然，这120多个国家中，绝大多数是发展中国家。中国提供的疫苗为很多发展中国家构筑免疫屏障，恢复社会生活发挥了重要作用，增强了发展中国家抗疫的能力、信心和决心。
Among the 120-plus countries, most of them are developing countries. The vaccines provided by China have played an important role in helping many developing countries build a defense of immunization and bring their economy and life back to normalcy. It has also boosted developing countries' capacity, confidence, and determination to beat the pandemic.
中国将继续坚持把发展中国家作为疫苗合作的主要伙伴。近期，习近平主席宣布，将再向非洲国家提供10亿剂疫苗，其中6亿剂为无偿援助，4亿剂以中方企业与有关非洲国家联合生产等方式提供，助力非洲国家实现非盟确定的2022年60%非洲人口接种疫苗的目标，再向东盟国家提供约1.5亿剂的疫苗无偿援助。
Going forward, China will continue to prioritize developing countries as major partners in vaccine cooperation. Recently, President Xi Jinping announced another 1 billion doses of vaccines for African countries. 600 million will be donations and 400 million will be provided through joint production between Chinese companies and relevant African countries. This aims to help the continent realize the goal set by the African Union to vaccinate 60% of the African population in 2022. In addition, China will also provide another 150 million doses to ASEAN countries.
中国也一直高度重视并积极推动疫苗研发、 生产分配的国际合作。中国的一些企业也同多个发展中国家合作生产并灌装疫苗，同多个发展中国家签署联合生产疫苗协议，初步形成了超过10亿剂的年产能。
When it comes to vaccines, China has all along attached great importance to and actively facilitated international cooperation on their research and development, production, and distribution. Chinese companies have partnered with many developing countries on vaccine co-production and fill and finish, and many Chinese companies have signed co-production agreements with a number of developing countries, with an initial annual capacity of over 1 billion doses.
关于你刚才提到的新冠 mRNA，据我了解，国内的一些企业正在进行研发，而且取得了积极的进展。谢谢。
As to the mRNA vaccines, as far as I know, some Chinese companies are now working on the R&D, and they have already made some good progress. Thank you.
谢谢。因为时间的原因，现在请提最后一个问题。
In the interest of time, we will take one more question.
请北区第5排第1位男士提问，谢谢。北区第5排第1位男士，谢谢。
谢谢主持人，发言人您好，我是香港大公文汇传媒的记者。去年的时候，全国人大通过了反外国制裁法，然后我们想问发言人，制定这部法律的目的是什么？谢谢。
Hong Kong Taikong Wenhuibo. We know that last year, the National People's Congress adopted the law on countering foreign sanctions, and we would like to know what is the purpose to make this legislation. Thank you.
好，谢谢你的提问。通过立法反制外国制裁、干涉和长臂管辖，是很多国家的通常做法。
Thank you for the question. It's a common practice in many countries to respond to foreign sanctions, interference, and long-arm jurisdiction through legislation.
中国的反外国制裁法是一部指向性、针对性很强的专门法律，突出的是一个反字。中国不惹事，但也不怕事儿。对于那些动辄挥舞制裁大棒的霸凌行径，中国通过反外国制裁法等法律手段，坚定维护国家主权、安全和发展利益，保护中国公民组织的合法权益。
This law on countering foreign sanctions that China enacted is a specialized legislation with a clear purpose. It is all about countering. China does not seek to provoke trouble, but it will not flinch should trouble come its way. Facing those acts of bullying, including arbitrary wielding of sanctions, China resorts to legal means, including the law on foreign sanctions in this case, to safeguard in a resolute way the country's sovereignty, security, and development interests, and to protect the lawful rights and interests of Chinese citizens and institutions.
中国一贯主张在坚持和平共处、五项原则的基础上，发展同各国的友好关系，一贯反对霸权主义和强权政治。中国的反外国制裁法是应对遏制打压的防御措施，与一些国家的单边制裁应该说有本质的区别。谢谢。
It's been China's consistent position to grow friendly relations with all countries, on the basis of the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, and we all along stand against hegemonism and power politics. This legislation is a defensive step to counter containment and oppression, which is, it is fair to say, essentially different from the unilateral sanctions pursued by some countries. Thank you.
谢谢媒体朋友们，今天的新闻发布会到此结束，谢谢发言人，谢谢大家，再见。
This concludes the press conference. Thank you.